In this video, I'm going to be showing off a ridiculously high damage build which is centered around the Blasphemous Blade. Its weapon skill, Taker's Flames, is going to be the main focus. And what better way to show off its strength and everything what makes the build good than facing off against the legendary
Malenia, Blade of Mikola.
So this weapon skill is medium range, which means you can have your spirit summon tank for you and hit enemies from afar. As you can see, your damage per second is really damn high, and because of this insane damage, you stagger enemies really easily and repeatedly. And then on the defensive side, you have great passive regeneration from Erdtree's Blessing. You also regain a large portion of your HP, around 20%, when Taker's Flames connects with an enemy. You're also going to have high vigor and heavy armour. So that's pretty much the best things about this build, at least that I can think of. I've managed to easily take out Malenia, and I'll say that's more of a testament to the build rather than my skill. So yeah, this build's pretty good. So moving on, how does this build hit so damn hard? Well, Taker's Flames does fire damage, which means we have so many ways to increase it. 7 in fact, and let me show you them. Yeah, that took too long to make. Subscribe for more nonsense like that. In front of you right here, I've got all the equipment you need. The absolute core things to the build are in yellow, so I suggest you get those. The others can be exchanged for things such as the finger seal can be exchanged for any sacred seal, but remember not to upgrade these because the spells we use don't scale on sacred seal level. And for your armor, basically you want to wear any armor set you like, which looks cool. But I suggest getting the Great Jar's Arsenal Charm and getting heavy armor so you're super tanky and have high poise. And a little quick thing which is pretty cool, all the core items can be got in the mid game. So that's it for equipment. Before I get onto stats, I need to show you the only complicated part of the build, and that's preparing for a fight. Basically applying all the buffs needed. So I'm just going to show you an example now. So first off, you chug your Wanderer's Flask, and this is going to give you increased fire damage and faith for 3 minutes. You next cast the Blessing of the Erdtree, and this gives you HP regeneration for 90 seconds. Next up, Golden Vow, increased damage and tankiness for 80 seconds. And usually I like to go through the Fog next. Once you're in the Fog, you do your Spirit Summon, you cast Flame Grant Me Strength, and then you use your Flask to regain your HP and FP to full. There are a few things to bear in mind, such as your FP consumption, which is why I like to use 3 to 4 FP flasks going into fights. You also need to keep your HP full to get the full effect of the Ritual Sword Talisman, which increases your damage. Another thing would be that the Flame Grant Me Strength buff can run out in the second phase. Usually you can kill most bosses in the first phase in under 30 seconds, but when they go into the second phase, you might want to recast Flame Grant Me Strength and or Golden Vow. The actual combat is pretty easy though, you just have your Spirit Summon tank and cast Taker's Flames over and over. Okay, now I'm going to get into stats. So I put the first milestone of stats at level 80 because this is about the level you will be after killing Rykard the Blasphemous, which will give you the access to the Blasphemous Blade, which is the weapon we need obviously. Which means at level 80 you must have the prerequisites to be able to use the weapon, which means you need 22 strength, 15 dexterity and enough faith, but we actually go over that limit of faith and go to 28, so we're able to cast the Blessing of the Erdtree after we get the plus 10 faith on the Faith Not Seal. We also need enough mind to cast all 3 spells in one go, and we need a decent amount of vigor to be tanky and some endurance. With only 15 endurance you won't be able to wear heavy armor yet, but you'd find some nice medium armor or something like that and you'll be good. I've put these required stats in yellow so it's obvious what you have to get. Right, so a level 120, this is about the level you would be to complete the game. The changes I've made here is I've increased your vigor, endurance and faith. For extra vigor is obvious, extra HP, but with 30 endurance, that means we'll be able to use heavy armour now, which is just going to make the final bosses all that so much easier. And faith also increased up to 43, which is just going to give us more damage, and the ability to cast the Blessing of the Erd Tree without the Faith Knot crystal tier. Level 120 is enough to beat the game, but what about the super late game? Well, at a level 150, there's a few things we can do. We can first increase our mine to 38, which reaches the maximum capacity for our FP flasks. So we're going to get maximum value out of the flasks. And also faith, just put faith up for more damage. So level 150, you could still be in the first journey still, but when you start going to New Game Plus or Journey 2, you're going to want to put even more levels into your character, and there's a few things we can do. The first being is to increase our endurance up to 41, and then swap out the Great Jar's Arsenal Charm for a Filigree Talisman. We're basically replacing the equipment load we got from the talisman with endurance, so now we can cast Taker's Flames for reduced FP. And then honestly, we just increase faith and vigor further for more HP and damage. So that's it for stats, and pretty much it for the build. Remember, it's okay to sort of deviate from the build a little bit, as long as you're sticking to the sort of core principles of the build and you're using Taker's Flame to deal obscene amounts of damage. And another thing, if you don't know how to get the Blasphemous Blade, I actually have a video tutorial on getting the blade and defeating Rykard, and I also have some other builds just like this one. Like and subscribe if you like the video, and thanks for watching.